All right, let's try this again. I just finished recording my entire video only to realize that I did not hit the record button. But let's try this again. Episode 4 of Married at First Sight. Hopefully this is recording this time. But let's talk about tonight's episode. I'm pretty sure that we learned that there is a pajama thief in San Diego. Somehow, 2 of the brides had their pajamas stolen, and I want to get to the bottom of this. Who was in Kristin and Lindsey's luggage going through and grabbing those pajamas? This is the mystery that we need to solve this season. Who cares if the couples stay together? I want to know who was stealing those pajamas. Finally, we got to the honeymoon this week. Well, not really. We kind of landed on the plane and that was about it for the honeymoons in beautiful product placement, Puerto Vallarta. Gotta love that, how they blast that name for us all to see and make sure that every person who reads the name of the resort they're going to before hopping on the plane. As always, we'll go through couple by couple. We'll start off with Kristin and Mitch. I really got the impression that after the wedding that Mitch was really holding back. He self-admitted that he had guards up, that he had more walls up than he expected. And I think that a lot of that is going to be attraction. I don't think that he's fully attracted to Kristin, and honestly, I think we all know at this point that he's more attracted to Kristin's mom than he is her. And also, Mitch, please stop telling that story that you told at the start of the honeymoon about how you thought that Kristin's mom was your wife. It's just gonna look real bad when everybody's sitting down and watching this over again, because yeah, like I said, it's very clear to all of us that you think that her mom is hotter than her. The sit down between Kristin and Mitch's family, they made Mitch seem like an absolute nightmare. Now I know that we've seen that he has the potential to be a total nightmare, a little bit of a diva. He got described as a groomzilla, bridezilla last week. But why would the family start that off like that? Oh hey, we're so glad to welcome you to the family. By the way, Mitch is a nightmare. Mitch is terrible. He's the worst to be around, and he's gonna say some incredibly offensive things to you whenever he gets angry. Yeah, that's great. Also really enjoyed Mitch saying that he was a go with the flow kind of guy, because everything we've seen about him this season screams that he is not a go with the flow guy. One last thing I want to touch on before moving on to our other couples is the previews really gave me the impression that Kristin and Mitch are going to stay together at the end of the season. If you look at the fights, all their fights looked like they happened probably right away on the honeymoon, and all of the good moments between them look like they happen later on. So it raises the question, if they could only find negative things from the start, how are you going to bet against them staying together at the end of the season? I know we're probably not rooting for Mitch, but I'm just throwing that out there because that is what I saw. Next up, let's go to Lindsey and Miguel. Miguel is trying his best to find these red flags with Lindsey, all starting with her not being able to find her pajamas. I think there was some other situation where Lindsey got a little elevated, and from my perspective, a few kind, calming words, a little bit of support from Miguel would have neutralized those situations immediately. Lindsey strikes me as somebody who really needs somebody in her corner, and right now it doesn't look like Miguel is going to provide that for her. It doesn't matter how good the chemistry was, how much attraction there was between them. If Miguel is not willing to support Lindsey, this relationship is not going to work. It was kind of hilarious hearing Lindsey's family express how much they did not want Miguel to have sex with Lindsey. Like, first off, like, you think about that, like, say a sibling, your kid, whoever is getting married. I don't want to talk about sex with their partner. Like, no, I don't want to have that conversation. Like, keep me as far away from that conversation as possible. And there they were diving in head first right away. On the other side of things, we had Miguel's sister hitting Lindsey with an incredible icebreaker. What do you have to say about your astrological signs not aligning? How are you even supposed to answer that question, especially if Lindsey isn't a person who like follows or is interested in astrological signs? Like, what is her response supposed to be? Like, it makes no sense. Like, she did pretty well in this situation, you know, basically saying like, oh, hey, maybe that's something I'll have to read up on. But what a ridiculous icebreaker. Yeah, like I said before, if Miguel's not going to support Lindsey, I don't think that this couple is going to work out. And the preview, the season preview, kind of seemed like it is backing that up a little bit, because like their fights and what was happening between them felt to me like it was falling apart because Miguel wasn't in Lindsey's corner, and that could be a huge negative for the two of them. Next up, we have Stacia and Nate. We had that moment after the wedding where Nate walks into the bedroom and just claims his side of the bed, and it just felt very weird to me. You know, there was no consideration for Stacia. There was no asking. It was just a demand. It was just a statement. And I know it's a small thing, but it kind of echoes back to the bachelor party with the stripper incident, where he just told the stripper to get on her knees, and it came across to me like he was an absolute pig and a pathetic excuse for a man. And that glimmer right there, that person was back, and then the rest of the episode we saw a totally different person. And like, the two sides were so different. Like Nate opening up about his past and like how he's been with Stacia, it doesn't line up with that other person that we saw. So that screams to me that one of those two personas is fake. And which one is fake, we don't know at this point. Like, for Stacia's sake, I hope that the nice guy Nate is the real Nate, but we will just have to wait and see. The whole showering together scene was weird. It was very, like show them go into the shower, close the door, and move on. Instead, that camera guy, he was inside the shower. He was jamming that camera in their face. We're getting close-ups of tongues going and attacking other tongues into mouths, hands all over bodies. Like, we didn't need to see that. And I really got the impression that either they weren't naked and they were just doing that for the camera, or the camera guy somehow convinced them to shoot a porno on the first day of their honeymoon. Just an awkward, weird scene all around, and just don't do that anymore in the future, Married at First Sight. Next up, we have Alexis and Justin. They are off to a much faster start than I expected, but we always got to have a but on Married at First Sight. What we saw from them in the preview really looked like things are going to take a turn for the worse. Justin looks like and seems to me like he's really going all in on this relationship. He looks like he's getting ready to drop the I love you on the honeymoon. He's not even going to wait till they get back to San Diego. And we saw Alexis's reaction of laughing in his face. And it throws me back to her history of being proposed to 3 times and saying no 3 times. Because I think that that's very similar to someone saying I love you. You know, somebody building up the courage to have this proclamation of love, and then Alexis laughing in that person's face. And that could be absolutely crushing for Justin, and that could change the rest of the relationship. You know, it's fine if Alexis isn't ready and doesn't reciprocate that right away, but to laugh in his face when he lays his heart on the table, that has to be an absolute dagger straight into that heart. And I don't know if Justin will be able to put that same effort and that same love into the relationship after that happens. Lastly, we have Morgan and Ben. I'm pretty sure that they were the only couple that actually looked at each other during their vows. On top of that, I really appreciated Morgan immediately reaching out and grabbing Ben's hands. I think that connection is so important to get the relationship off on the right foot. You know, we see the couples who stand way afar from each other, just kind of have their hands down. It's like, yeah, this is a stranger, but you are getting married to them. You are getting married. You're starting a connection with them. You're starting this relationship with them. So connect, reach out, grab that person's hand, let them know that you're there. And like, one thing you have to remember is no matter what you're feeling at that moment, there's a good chance that the other person standing across from you is going through or has gone through or will go through that same emotion through this process. So be there for each other. I really thought that was a great way for Morgan and Ben to start their relationship, but things look like they're going to turn sour for this couple pretty quickly. The previews made it look like Morgan tells Ben something in private, then Ben goes and immediately tells all the other people, or at least some of the other people, and then Morgan feels betrayed, like the trust has been broken, and then Ben is going to have to try to rebuild that trust somehow, and I'm not entirely sure if he will be able to. I think we're going to wrap things up for right there. Hopefully I'll be able to do my video on time next week. No, I definitely will be able to. But as always, everybody, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, we will see you later.